Hi folks, it's Andy. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. We've got loads of fantastic questions for you today, so be prepared because this is going to probably be a slightly longer episode than normal. We've got plenty of questions from you guys. Thank you so much. We'll jump into them in just a moment. However, as you know, like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. Most importantly, support the channel by shopping at KendoStar.com. That's my website, of course, that provides fantastic, amazing, wonderful Kendo equipment. Of course, I'd say that I own the place, so if you don't believe me, check out our Trustpilot rating. That's independent reviews, by the way, and we're one of the highest rated stores on Trustpilot, not just in the Kendo industry, but in all of e-commerce. We're actually one of the highest rated stores on their platform. They absolutely love us there, so thank you everyone for all your wonderful reviews. But yeah, I'm sure there's people in your dojo that are using our stuff at this point. So yeah, shop there and help us keep making these fantastic videos. At least I think they're fantastic. Let me know if you think they're fantastic. Drop a like, comment, stuff like that. One more thing as well. I put out a thing yesterday saying we're actually looking for new team members here at KendoStar. We are hiring at the moment. If you're in the UK, if you have the right to live and work in the UK, that's the most important thing, of course, then check out on kendostar.com/careers, I think it is. There's a link at the bottom of the KendoStar website saying careers, where we are looking to expand our team. You just got to be able to work in the UK. You've got to do Kendo. I don't care how good you are, but you've got to love Kendo, all right? I don't care what grade you are, anything like that. But I am looking for somebody that does Kendo. And that's pretty much it. I don't care about your education and stuff like that. I just want someone that wants to share our vision and be involved in something amazing. So yeah, check that out if it's of interest to you, or if you know someone that it might be of interest to. Right, so that's enough of that. Let's get into these questions. This first one came to me by email. I think it's quite an interesting one. It says, in my dojo, we sometimes jog during warm-up. We sing this chant. It's never explained to us. I just learned to repeat the sounds. It's been so long, it's awkward to ask now. I don't think it's awkward to ask, but anyway, it goes, teacher says, ichi, 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 ni, and everyone says, sore. Teacher, ichi, 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 ni, everybody, sore. Teacher, cho, 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 cho. I assume that's how you pronounce that. Expecting it's not choo 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 like a train. Sore. Ichi, hai, ni, hai, san, hai, shi, hai. Teacher, ichi, ni, san, shi. Everyone, ichi, ni, san, shi. Teacher, ichi, ni, san, shi. Everyone, ichi, ni, san, shi. Then it repeats with the junior and senior teacher taking turns singing the teacher part. Do you know what the chant is? Is it very common? Can you tell us more about its history and meaning? I understand the counting and hai, but I've no idea what sore and cho 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 means. I'm very curious. P.S. Love the show. Love what you're doing. Love you. Thank you. And love shopping at KendoStar. Thank you so much. Okay. No, I've never heard a chant like that before. No idea. My wife and I both sort of looked over this email. Neither of us can figure out what cho 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 means. Doesn't sound Japanese actually, but I'm not saying it's not. I mean, it's just a bit. This sore might be like sore is like they say at a kind of matsuri and stuff like that. It's kind of bit of a sort of chanting word. No idea, to be honest with you. Never heard anything like this. Never seen anything like that in Japan. Not saying it doesn't exist. Best thing is you just ask the teacher. Just say, look, I know we've been doing this for a while. What's all that about? What does it mean? It'd be kind of interesting. And share what they said. I'm interested to know as well. I'm really interested to know. So, ask them and let us know what they say. Either put a comment down below or you can email it to me. But yeah, sounds cool. Next one. I have a question. What queue should you try to reach to start looking into doing tournaments? I'm testing for 5th queue in about 4 days. I think this question was last week, so I hope your grading went okay for your 5th queue. If you're able to wear Borga and safely participate in Keiko with other people, then I think you're okay to do tournaments. A lot of people don't agree with me on that. Some people think you should be a certain level or what have you. But if you're able to wear the armor and safely participate with other people, and preferably be able to make strikes with Fumikomi, then I think you should be able. I think you should start doing tournaments, or at least Shiai practice. In Japan, they throw kids in tournaments like a few months after they start wearing the Borga. So they're like 7 years old. Usually when they start doing their first tournaments. Obviously they're total rubbish at it for the most part, but it's kind of it's an important part of the journey as well. So yeah, I think so. People act like doing like 2 or 3 minutes of Shiai in a tournament is going to somehow ruin your Kendo when you're like 6th queue or 5th queue or something, like you've already built something up. No, you'll be fine. Do you think the Kiai is in part or fully responsible for anime characters shouting the attack names, like we do with Men, Do, and Kote? No, I don't think it is. I mean, it might be. I don't think so though. To be honest, I think I'm not a massive anime fan, to be honest. There's only a couple that I've watched, but I do know what you mean. No, I think that comes from the creators of the anime, which are often lots of anime are often come from manga. They were comics beforehand, and I think it's often the creators trying to communicate to the viewer or the reader the sort of that this particular character has a specific style or something, or their own special moves. I don't think it's connected to Kendo at all. Could be wrong though. I'm no expert on that sort of thing. Do you have any tips for teaching the Kamae of the hands, such as exercise or analogies? It seems like a lot of people struggle with this. They're corrected and then go straight back to what they were doing before, asking for a friend. Yeah, I know, it's difficult, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can give you sort of the analogy I often use is you should hold your hand out as if you were going to shake hands with somebody, and that's how you should grip the shinai for Kamae, and you should try to keep your elbows closed, and other than that, just with demonstrations. But unfortunately, it's kind of it's part and parcel in a way of teaching Kendo to adults. So a lot of people, you teach them, they seem to agree or understand what you're saying, and then it kind of just disappears. You got to remember, people have different motivations for coming to Kendo practice. Not everyone's there to necessarily get a lot better at it. I know they want to get better at it. Most people want to get better at it when they come, but if they're only coming for 2 hours once a week, then they're limited to how much they can improve, because obviously they're going to forget most of what they did during those 2 hours. 2 hours in a week it's not enough to improve at any activity. I don't think you can I don't think there's any probably activity you could learn to do at a reasonably good proficient level only practicing it 2 hours a week from the start. So nearly everything requires you to do some sort of practice in between, right? So I'd probably give them some exercises as well to practice it at home, maybe. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I subscribed to your YouTube channel. My Kendo hasn't improved like you promised. Well, you see, I don't think you've done exactly what I said. You've got to subscribe, and then the Kendo bell appears. You've got to ring the Kendo bell. All right? When you press subscribe, the Kendo bell appears. You've got to ring that, and then you start to improve. All right? It's a scientific fact. All right? It's just how it is. Right? But if you don't ring the bell, I can't make any promises. All right? So, Hi, Andy. Do you know of any do that has more upper chest protection for women. I've seen these somewhere online, but I can't remember where. The mune either side under the arms has slightly more protection. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. A few years ago, there was another supplier that had like really high sides on the do mune, sort of really high. I don't think that they're sort of in production anymore. It's not something I'd look to produce either. I don't think that they're really as good as they probably might appear to be. I think they could cause problems with making the correct kamae, and they kind of look weird too. Look, it's a difficult situation. What we've done in the past, we've made the komune on the dorso on the mune. You've got a bit here that's got some lines on it there. We've made them a little bit taller for some of our customers in the past. It's not a problem. We can do that. The thing is, right, this is my personal opinion on this, is it is a serious problem, right? It is a serious problem that is not unique, but is particularly more prevalent in countries where Kendo is sort of not quite as established as it is in Japan. So where, you know, we have lots of adult beginners that are sort of using their power to swing the Shiai, and with less focus on accuracy. Now, everybody misses door strikes. Everybody does. But there's a line that you've got to draw with some things, and it's something I've talked about before. You know, at KendoStar, we've been very, very keen to make sure our burger is very protective, but people sometimes the discussion comes up about how we can improve the design to make it more protective, and add it round the back of the head, and make the kode up the arms and stuff like this. And the fact of the matter is there is a balance to be had, right? If we go down that route where we modify the design of the burger so it starts to protect areas that shouldn't require protection, then my concern is we're going to see an encouragement in those sort of people that don't have a concern for accuracy, and will your sort of adult beginners particularly will be like, well, it has a danger of turning into a bit of a free-for-all, if that makes sense. I'm not sure I've articulated that well, but I think there's part of a reason why the Kendo specifically protects the areas that you're supposed to strike, and only has minimal areas that are to protect you from strikes that are missed, and that's to stop it. Not to stop it degenerating, but it helps to stop it degenerating into just wild flailing with sticks, with no abandon for whether no care for where your strikes are landing. So there is a thing to a balance to be had there. But on the other side, I do understand, of course, that the feminine form requires a different sort of protection to the masculine form. So there is a balance to be struck there. In my opinion, the way to do that is, and I know we've had contact by email as well, but I know you're the person you're talking about is using the protective undervest that we have. Definitely, that's a good idea. And I think just by increasing the size of the komune a little bit is probably the best option, rather than going for something that's like a full-on thing that's probably that could very well interfere with that individual's ability to properly practice Kendo. Otherwise, there's got to be a balance between the person being properly protected and the responsibility of the person making the strike to also practice safely, if that makes sense. Okay, so the last thing, if you're practicing Kendo out there, and this isn't to the person that just made that question, this is to people everywhere, you have to care about accuracy more than power in Kendo, all right? Kendo is not kakutogi or combat sports, right? It's not about hitting as hard as you can. It's not about beating up the other person. It's not like, it's not It's not something you can mix with other styles of martial arts that you can use as a sort of, like a hybrid or anything like that. You have to care for your partner. Your partner is your aite. It's not your opponent. It's your aite, your partner. All right. You have a duty of care to practice safely with them. All right. So you have to take control of your own actions. And if you're unable to confidently practice with them without them experiencing pain, then you should go back to practicing suburi and basics until you can achieve that point where you can confidently practice with others without them feeling unpleasant or painful for practicing with you. You really need to be aware of that. Okay, you don't want to be, well, you can't be the person that when it's somebody's turn to practice with you, they're kind of like, oh God, I've got this person. Yeah, you can't do that. So you need to take some responsibility too. That's everybody, myself included. All right. Hi, Andy. I wanted to say I appreciated the rant you had a few weeks ago regarding the futility of trying hard to surpass one's sensei, as it made me stop having a rival and help me focus more on improving my own skills rather than trying to be better than someone else. Sorry if this is a lot, but I have 2 questions related to an older gentleman who's a downgrade I train with. First, he barely ever holds back in Jigeko, which I appreciate, but his blows are very strong and often hurt slightly. My question is it a particularly bad sign when he hits my kote on a certain spot? I feel a mild shock in my nerves from my wrists up to my hand. Is this a sign of genuinely bad injury, or is it or is it normal, just like hitting a funny bone? And the second one, said gentleman also has, as my friend and I discussed after training and Jigeko, an incredibly strong kamae. It's very difficult for us to breach. My question is, what advice or strategy do you have for people with seemingly impenetrable defense? Thanks again, Andy. I'm wishing your family well. Okay, it's difficult. There's often one or two. You come across these people every now and again. I know exactly the sort that you're talking about. All right, so it's difficult, because that person probably doesn't realize that they're making your kendo experience unpleasant. So again, I just go back to what I just said a minute ago, first of all, before I answer this question. If you're somebody in a dojo, and even if you're a downgrade, you've got to really start to think and be honest with yourself. Are you somebody that's making the experience of others unpleasant? Because if you are, then you're not doing it right. Okay. So look, when he hits your kote on a certain spot, it's difficult, right? If it's happening in Jigeko, these things happen. Sometimes people miss and stuff like that, but if it's happening consistently, there's 2 things you can do. One is you can talk to the person. Even if it's Jigeko or if it's in Kihon. If it's in Kihon, first have a look at if you're receiving properly. But either way, speak to the person and say, oh, hi, can I ask some advice, right? And put it from that point of view. I often find that when I'm practicing with you, I get hit in this particular way, and I don't know why, but it's sort of catching somewhere that's causing this pain. Is there something that you think I'm doing that's causing that, or is it because it's starting to really hurt? Don't take it to them and be like, look, you're really starting to hurt me, can you cut it out? Don't take it to them that way. Just say, look, I think there's something here that's not working. Have you any idea what I could be doing better so that doesn't happen? And in terms of like getting past this kamae, there's not a lot you can do in that either. Just try to make bold strikes from yourself. But the other thing you could do is try to strike when they attack. So that's the best I can offer. Fortunately, obviously, without actually seeing the situation unfold before my eyes. Okay. But talk to them about it. Talk to them about it. Say, another thing. How do I get past your kamae? Like, well, don't say how do you get past your kamae. They're not gonna be like, well, just do this. But just be like, oh, I really struggle to get past your kamae, and do you have any advice for what I should do, sort of thing. If you take it in that direction, then they shouldn't get upset or anything. Hi Andy, I want to know your insight on this one. The purpose of the Olympics, here we go, used to be much more pure and closer to budo. Cultivate human qualities through sports to contribute to world peace. But got twisted along the way. Okay. Hypothetically, if Kendo were to join the Olympics, it won't. Do you think it would save some of the original qualities of the Olympics, or will Kendo be tainted by the more modern approach of the event and lose sight of its identity as well? I'm a bit more optimistic and have faith in my fellow Kenshi. I believe Kendo will stay the same and even show the original qualities of what the Olympic sport should be. I don't think Kendo will change the Olympics. No, I don't think so. Do I think Kendo would change if it went in the Olympics? Don't know. Maybe. It's changing already. Like, people are talking about changing the rules now. Like, which I don't really like. But everyone seems fine with it. So lots of people are like, oh, this is good. Whereas, you know, because they're changing it in a way, I guess, that some people, they're talking about, like, these rules surrounding the pandemic that seem to be kind of talking about removing Hikiwaza and Tsubuzeriai. People seem to be happy about that, and it's because Hikiwaza and Tsubuzeriai is a element of Kendo that's under practiced and a lot of people aren't very good at. So, you know, anyway, that's a different topic. I don't think that if Kendo got in the Olympics, it would change the Olympics. I think that would be... I don't think so. I mean, no, of course, I don't think so. Well, I don't see why it would. I don't see why it would at all. Kendo's fantastic and everything, but it's not... It's not like it's not a religion that's going to bring enlightenment to everyone. Next one, should the skidare overlap the mune on the door with the risk of getting stuck behind it, or should it be shorter with a little gap? So the skidare is that I go this part, right? It's not that should be longer or shorter. First off, they're pretty much the same length. Obviously there is a slight difference in size depending on the size of the men, but it's a difficult question to answer properly, to be honest, because it depends on the person. It depends on your height. Ideally, in an ideal world, for someone of my height, I'm like 173 centimeters tall, male. There should be a little gap, but that, you know, in an ideal world, that's the way it's sort of designed to be. But it doesn't have to be like that. My wife has to overlap a little bit because she's shorter. So the risk of it getting stuck behind is a flaw in your kamae, not in the flaw in the bogo, the way it fits. All right. If you have your head shouldn't move this way very much. All right. It does when you attack. It comes this way. It shouldn't go this way. All right. So if you're finding that you can see actually just behind me, there's a stand there, and I'm in this picture. I'm wearing a do and my head's turned that way, so that's why it's kind of tucked underneath a little bit. But when I'm stood straight, you can see there's a little gap there. But even if I was shorter and it was overlapping a little bit, then it's not a problem, and it doesn't affect anything. If you're stood in kamae properly, yeah. With your head in the right position. If you're like over 170 centimeters tall, and your skidare and door is overlapping, the chances are you're wearing the door too high. Not definitely, but depends how you're built. But next one, hi Andy. If you were to pick a door that was not the same color you already have, what would it be, and what type of finish? Oh, that's a difficult one. That's a really difficult one. Because yeah. That's a difficult one. I have a lot of yellow door, so I have 3 yellow door at the minute, I think. I've always liked red door, but yeah, I've always liked red door, so I might get a red one. I'd like a same door, but from a practical point of view, they're not great because they're heavy, they're not super durable, they're not great for practice. And they're super expensive. So yeah, I don't know. But if I could just pick one, Actually, there's a sami. I would get a samido if I didn't care about all that sort of thing. I'd probably get a samido, and there's a cream coloured one that they do that I really like. It's kind of yellowish cream. So yeah, yellow. Uh, it's the same colour though. Anyway, how long does it take for new Borga to break in? Also, have you heard of or used a material called Ultra Suede for Kote Tenuti? Yeah, it's a brand of synthetic leather. I read on a Kendo blog that it seemed like the most realistic fake leather, close to the feel of deer leather. Okay. New Borga, couple of weeks, depends how much often you practice and how intense it is. Up to a month, maybe a couple of months even. Depends. But it does break in. Kote, I usually break kote in within about sort of 3 to 4 practices, especially if I'm practicing quite intense. Men, it can take a little bit longer for the uchiwa to just fit how I want it to, but about the ultra suede, there's loads of these things, loads of these names that they come up for synthetic leather, which is essentially, it's all the same stuff. It's just there's a few different manufacturers that use different names for the same thing. In my experience, it's all pretty much the same. There is a slight variance in, you do have to pick when you're choosing a manufacturer to get the synthetic leather from, as a manufacturer, as a Borgo supplier, sort of from our side, it's a bit behind the scenes stuff. You do have to care about the choosing the right one that could be the better quality, what kind of fibers are used to make it, to make it up. If they're not packed well enough, then they'll peel quite a lot. There is some really rubbish synthetic leather out there. You don't see too much of it these days though, and some that goes really funky colours. But these ones with special names and stuff, it's just names people just think up to stick on them, to sort of help it sound like it's not just normal synthetic leather when really it is. So I wouldn't put too much weight into it. I'm not saying this particular one you've mentioned is particularly bad or anything. I'm just saying I don't know if it's any better than the others, let's say. Okay, next one. Hi, Andy. I'm sure you've been asked this question a dozen times already, probably a few times in this thread alone, on whether Kendo should be part of the Olympics. It seems like the whole community is divided and conflicted about the matter. My question, however, might be slightly different from others. Do you consider it being good Kendo to be difficult about it? Some individuals get pretty much enjoy getting into fights with supporting half and imply they might not get it. They use condescending tone trying to look superior as they think that they know something others don't. I'm sure there are plenty of abusive people on the other side too. I believe a proper human being should tolerate ideas of others. Couldn't agree more with you there. Furthermore, sort of reminds me of the whole discussion on proper versus tournament Kendo, very much, yeah. You mentioned it in one of the previous rants that people who say this kind of stuff probably aren't that good at Kendo as they might think. What's your take? I'd like to finish on a lighter note. Is it possible to get a Yamato-do, not bamboo, kiji-do? Thanks. Okay, cool. So yeah, I know exactly what you're asking. I've done a total separate video, like a Kendo rant from ages ago, about the Olympics. People always ask, should Kendo be in the Olympics? And do I think Kendo should be in the Olympics? Do I want Kendo in the Olympics? Not really. Do I care that much? Not really. Do I think it will get into the Olympics? No. I don't think so at all. Actually, I think there's a 0% chance of that happening. Do I think Kendo will massively change if it goes in the Olympics? I don't know, but probably not massively. It might do though. I don't know. Does it mean that if it changed it would be bad? I don't know. Is Kendo better than other sports? No. Does doing Kendo, Kendo isn't sports, all right? It's not sports, it's budo. It's almost not even martial arts in a way, all right? Because it is, but I mentioned it before, but there's a Japanese word kakutogi, which is more like combat sports. It's not like the others like that, all right? You can't mix it with other styles and you can't bring in your own influence and stuff like that. So I don't think it's suited to the Olympics because it's not really a great spectator sport if you don't understand it. And more importantly, it's just not popular enough. worldwide. So yeah. And there is this sort of thing that's like, no, it must never go in the Olympics, and anyone that thinks it goes in the Olympics just doesn't understand Kendo sort of thing. And it's like, well, no, there's an argument. There are positives for it going in the Olympics. It's not all bad if it went in the Olympics, and it's not all good. Yeah, there's positive and negatives on both sides, like for anything. Well, the problem is exactly as this person said. In the modern world, and I've said this before, people tend to get really polarized, and it turns into an almost tribal argument with these sort of things. And the same happens with the proper versus tournament Kendo. Now, look, yeah, would Kendo change if it went in the Olympics? Maybe it would. Would it change for the better? Maybe, maybe not. Would it become something different? Maybe, maybe not. Is that already happening? Yes, it is, isn't it, really? Are those changes that are being made? There's changes being made to Kendo all the time, all right? Do I agree with them all? No, I don't agree with all the changes that are being made, but they are being made. So, there's not a lot, So, I guess, without trying to go off too much of a tangent, the question is like, what approach should you have to this discussion? Not about, it doesn't matter whether you want it in the Olympics or not, or you think it should be or shouldn't be. What you have to think about is how you're approaching the discussion in the first place. Does the other side, of whichever side of the fence that you stand on this issue, does the other side have any valid points or not? And if you can't accept that they have valid points, then I don't think that you're necessarily... I think whichever side you're on, if you're looking at it from that point of view, then yeah, in terms of Kendo, you don't get it because you're not really empathizing with other people. All right, people stand on the other side of the fence to you because they have they have a position that they believe is valid, and if you can't empathize with that, then there's a problem in terms of having any sort of constructive discussion on anything, isn't there? So the vast majority of people aren't just malicious bad people. They hold sort of particular beliefs and convictions because they believe they are valid beliefs and convictions. So whether that's something about the Olympics or whether Kendo is too sporty, or tournament Kendo is different to other kinds of Kendo, or Kendo doesn't have enough kata or something like that, you have to understand that there are valid reasons for holding the beliefs on the other side of the fence than you. So with the Olympic question, for example, like I say, I don't really fall on either side of the fence. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say no, probably best not put it in the Olympics. Mainly because I just don't think Kendo's got the infrastructure to deal with it. But I understand why people would want it in the Olympics. In the past, I've thought maybe it would be good to have it in the Olympics. And I understand why people think that. Yeah, it would bring more attention to Kendo. It would bring more funding to Kendo. It would make Kendo more popular. Well, on the other side, yeah, it means that Kendo might have to change, and that change might not be a positive thing. So if you're someone that's like, yeah, we got to get it in the Olympics so that we can get it more and more popular, you got to understand that there's people on the other side that are like, well, the problem is if we do that, it might change into something that we don't recognize, and it isn't what we want to do anymore. It isn't what we want Kendo to be. So you've got to really look at it from both points of view, and empathize with the positions of people on both sides, and don't be so like, some people get really aggressive about it. That's the thing. And Kendo's not, don't think that Kendo is like better than other stuff either, right? Like Kendo shouldn't be in the Olympics. This is better than that. That's rubbish, right? It's not. Kendo is fantastic and amazing in lots of ways, which I've expressed in so many ways on this channel before, and it's an important part of my life. But it doesn't, Kendo gives all these wonderful things, and it is budo, and it is there to cultivate the human character, but it doesn't mean that sort of thing can't be attained, or the achievements or or the perseverance of athletes from other sports is less valid in some way because it's a competitive sport. And to sort of deny that Kendo has a competitive element, which is not directly applicable to other sports, is dishonest as well. It's just not true. So yeah. But then, you know, it's usually people that aren't very good at sort of tournaments and stuff that have those convictions the sort of strongest, in my experience. Anyway, hello again, Andy. I spent a great deal of time last year analysing Kendo footage, looking for ways of incorporating certain kinds of waza more effectively. I've been watching Furukawa Sensei for his ski waza, Nishimura Sensei for his debana kote. What would you say is one of your favourite techniques, aka the Andy Fisher signature waza? I'm not, no, you can't put me in that category. Sorry. Like I run a YouTube channel that does this sort of thing. I'm not on the level of those sort of people, or someone where I'd say, oh, this is my signature waza. I don't think I have that. My Kendo evolves and changes over time. From sort of in the past, I was better at one waza, and now I'm better at different waza. I have favorite waza that I like, but that tends to change as well depending on the point I'm at in my Kendo journey. So I don't want to go and say, well, this is the signature Andy Fisher waza. There's nothing like that at all. I couldn't ascribe a waza to be my waza in any way whatsoever. And especially couldn't be compared to those sort of legends. Next one. Sorry, I know that isn't answering your question, but let's say katate hiki gyakudo. Okay. Hey Sensei, love your videos. Thank you. I don't feel like I'm confident getting around my opponent that likes to do kaishi-do. Against possible kaishi-do, I figured to either pressure and initiate a kote or immediately close into tsubazariai. I've also went for feint men to kote in the past, yeah, but my sensei have prohibited kote against kaishi men block for safety reasons. That sounds weird. Especially when the opponent holds a shinai above their men and parallel to the ground for the kaishi block, as hitting kote sideways is not safe and leads to bad yuko datotsu. Well, that depends on you, doesn't it, if you're not very good at doing it. So when are your thoughts on playing against... So what are your thoughts on playing against possible kaishi-do? Right. I'm not sure why your teacher would have prohibited kote against the kaishi men block, especially against people that do that. If anything, you should prohibit people doing that. But I don't think you need to prohibit any of it. If somebody does that and then they get whacked on the elbow, I mean, that's kind of... It's not their fault. You can hit kote against someone like that. You just have to have good technique. Now, the problem is probably that technique doesn't necessarily exist. So... whatever. Okay, I can't get around the idea of saying don't do kote against kaishi men, but whatever. That's fine. You don't have to do that. What you can do instead is use semit. So someone's trying to do men kaishi-do. Okay, when I go for men like this, they're gonna go do like this, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go like this. Okay, so they're not going to know when the men's coming. All right, and they're going to be like like this, like this. And then I'm going to gradually be getting closer and closer as I'm doing my semi. And then whilst doing this, then I'm going to make a powerful men's strike, and they're not going to be able to do the kaishi-do in time. All right? But that takes a lot of practice, a lot of experience. In the meantime, I just whack them on the kote. But they say you can't do that. You can't do that. Don't block kaishi-do like this. Like, you can't do a good kaishi-do like this. Sorry, doesn't happen. Except in very exceptional circumstances before somebody flames me. Hi Andy, here's my question. And not so advanced Kenshi, first Q. What would you recommend to deal with less advanced Kenshi during Jigeko? Most of the time, I feel it's awkward Jigeko, just lots of words attack and blocking. How to approach it so that we can both benefit? Thanks. All right, so when you first queue, with a sort of newer person, I just continue to just practice doing your straight men strikes. Don't beat them up or anything like that. And then maybe even, you know, if you've got that sort of relationship with them, then you can also let them strike you as well. But not too much. Just try to make good men strikes with Kentai no Ichi that meet the criteria of Yuko Datotsu. You don't have to beat them up or anything like that. And you should be able to make the strikes successful, right? Last one. Sensei says that my Kendo is very good. He says that it's very orthodox, very traditional, very straight, proper Kendo. According to him, my Kendo may not win Shiai, but will easily pass tests. Now my question is, do I have to develop a Shiai style of Kendo if I want to do well in Shiai? No. Will doing this hurt my testing Kendo as I understand it? There's only one. As I understand it, there's only one Kendo, and perhaps doing Shiai Kendo will act as a shortcut to success in the short term, but might break down later when opponents get tougher. Is this interpretation correct? The goal is competition. If the goal is competition, should I develop another style of Kendo for the tool bag or stay the course? Right. Okay. So here's the cold hard truth of what your sensei is actually saying. Here's the translation. Right. Your kamae is nice, your form's nice, but you can't make ippon. Right, that's what he's saying. Yeah. If you can make ippon, then you can do okay in tournaments, right? So the fact is, there isn't tournament Kendo and grading Kendo, right? And then dojo Kendo. There isn't that. There's just Kendo, and then there's different strategy for Shiai, and there's different strategy for grading, and then there's different strategy for practice. All right. There's nobody that's really good at Shiai. And when I'm saying really good, I'm not talking like some third dan that's doing all right in some random like local tournament or even like whatever. I'm talking about really good at Shiai, like national championship level, that doesn't do well in the gradings. All right. Doesn't happen. Yeah. All your All Japan level players, they all sail through the gradings. Why? Because their Kendo is awesome. It's awesome, right? Do they do their gradings the same as they do the Shiai? No. Is their Kendo different? No. They're just doing a different type of strategy, yeah? They don't need to defend as much. Instead, their opponent's also not trying to do the same kind of waza. They're not trying to worry about hansoku and stuff like that. Probably not really worrying about extended time in Sub-Zeri because you're trying to work together with your opponent to show your Kendo ability. So it's a different strategy. So no, you do not need to develop a Shiai Kendo. All the people that do that, what they do is, like I said, they get to about third dan, and then they do all right at some mediocre taikai, and then they get stuck and they never get better. All right, and then they wonder why they can't win at like when they go to a bigger tournament. They end up being like big fish in small ponds. You don't want to do that, and then they start failing gradings because their Kendo's actually rubbish. It's just that they're relying on like speed to hit people that aren't quite as good as them faster than they can get hit. So no, stay doing the correct Kendo. What you have to now figure out is why you're not able to make ippon against somebody that's trying to make ippon on you. You have to try and figure out about the opportunities that you're trying to make. And yeah, it's not wrong to defend yourself. It's not wrong to defend yourself. Blocking isn't wrong in Kendo, right? It's not wrong. But the reason you don't want to do it too much in a grading is because it shows that you're unprepared for and you don't understand the situation that's happening with your opponent. In a tournament, it's a totally different atmosphere. It's a totally different strategy that's being employed by both sides. So yeah, stuff that you don't expect to happen happens. So you have to block. Doesn't, you know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. To be honest, don't separate Shiai Kendo and grading Kendo. Just try to do good Kendo and you'll win Shiai. Yeah. That's it. That's it for today. It's been a longer episode than normal. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Ring the Kendo bell if you want to get better at Kendo. It's scientifically proven fact that as soon as you ring that Kendo bell, you'll start to improve at Kendo. Okay? Then shop at KendoStar. That's what keeps the lights on. Yeah? Keeps the camera rolling. Got more instructional videos coming very soon. Filmed a great batch of them a couple of weeks ago. They're just in the editing process right now. We've got some brilliant topics coming. Make sure you're in the Kendo Show Early Access group, link in the description. That's where those videos are going to get posted first. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. See you all next time. Bye-bye.